Hello everybody, this is Nancy from Paper Moon Tarot, and I wanted to do this VR challenge. That's my first challenge, so I hope everybody responds to it. This was kind of a riff on Candy Soul and Soil's Dating the Tarot, and I thought, well, you know, if you're dating the tarot, the big thing you want to have as part of your date is a meal. So this is Tarot on the Menu. I thought about calling it Eating the Tarot along with Dating the Tarot, but Tarot on the Menu seemed better. So it's basically some ideas for decks that you might equate with a good meal of whatever type. And so it's just for fun. The first item on the menu is your favorite appetizer, which is a deck to whet your appetite. And what I chose was the Royal Mischief playing card deck from Patrick Valenza. It's just a wonderful, fun, and sometimes the cards are sideways, fun little deck with cute little cards, and you know, I'm putting it in a tarot on the menu, but many people read playing cards tarot-like, and so this is kind of a cute little intro tarot, I guess. But as an appetizer to get your interest in card reading going, I love this deck. It's so much fun. I've never actually played cards with it, but I imagine you could. There's our two of diamonds. But some of the cards are sideways. Some of them are straight up and down. So much fun. And so if you just want to get your appetite going for reading cards, I think Royal Mischief is a perfect deck. It's kind of like all the little snacky appetizers you get at a bar before your dinner or a restaurant. So that's my favorite appetizer. Okay, moving on. The next one is French Bistro. It's an elegant, tasty meal. And so for me, that was Le Terre Noire, which my French is terrible, so Le Terre Noire. I don't know. Somebody out there French, please pronounce it for me. But it's a beautiful Marseille-style deck, so of course it makes sense being French. I've been to Marseille once, and I loved Marseille. It's a beautiful city, felt very vibrant. Lots of different cultures there, and great walking city. So here's our Marseille-style deck. I got it from Amazon France, so it is very French. And so imagine yourself sitting in a French bistro. Oh, that's my cat knocking things over. Sitting in a French bistro, having a nice glass of wine. Okay, he found something to play with. Thank you, Mythical. He's not French. Mythical is a Maine Coon with a Scottish name, so anyway, it's just a beautiful deck and makes me think of the French food, which I love. So that is the French Bistro. A spicy dish that adds a little spice to every reading. For this one, I came back to Patrick Valenza, two in one video, for the Trionfo della Luna, which also has sideways stuff going on. But this adding spice to a reading, I think any Patrick Valenza deck does that. You know, we're trying to figure out what's going on with the devil's crotch here. Oh, Mythical, no. We're all going to have to put up with Mythical. knocking my water glass over and stuff in this deck. Thank you for your indulgence, viewers. If you feel sorry for me, please subscribe. That'll make me feel better. Page of Coins, Knight of Coins, Dragon. I mean, how much spicier can you get with a deck? It's going to inspire you in your readings. So this is my spicy deck. I don't know what the King of Coins is doing with the little doll in his arm, in his hands. But this is the Triomphe de la Luna, they call it Rose Edition, I think, something like that. Anyway, it's kind of a rosy colors in it. And there is another edition that is less rosy. But that's my spicy dish. So, moving on to Little Italy. I've lived in several cities with Little Italies, Boston and New York City, and they have these sections of town where there are lots of Italian restaurants and Italian shops and so forth, and God, I've always loved them. The food is amazing. So for Little Italy is a deck that brings to mind the taste-tempting pasta that you love. So for this one, I have Corte dei Tarocchi. You probably have any number of Italian decks since tarot kind of came out of Italy in the 1400s. But I love this one from Il Meneghello. And by the way, I'll have links below to tell you all of the creators of the decks and where to get them. But this just has that feeling of a little Italian restaurant. In the United States, it's called Little Italy. In Italy, it would just be, you know, your neighborhood restaurant. And I don't know, in other parts of the world, do you have a Little Italy in your cities? Or Chinatown, which we have in the United States. We have different, I think those are the two main ones I can think of. I don't think there's a French town or anything like that. And I don't know if those titles have become derogatory, but anyway, we have Little Italies in America, and the Italian food anywhere in the world is pretty amazing. Very low calorie and low fat from what I hear. Not, unfortunately. But this is a wonderful Corte dei Tarocchi deck by Il Meneghello on beautiful art paper. I love the size of the cards and just kind of makes you feel like you're in Italy. Okay, the next one, if I can get rid of McFeagle, is the meat and potatoes deck. And I suspect a meat and potatoes deck, one that sticks to your ribs, is going to be a variation of this for an awful lot of people. This is the Radiant Wise version of the RWS. So if you're an RWS reader, this is your meat and potatoes deck. It is the base of most other decks that follow this system. It is Pamela Coleman Smith's art, and I think a lot of us cut our teeth on it. So you probably have this deck at hand to call on, to refer to all the symbols that she added, that some kind of were created by her. I believe I read something that said that the Queen of Wands black cat was added because there was a friend visiting Pamela Coleman Smith that day in her studio who had a black cat, but I don't know. Who knows? But some of these symbols go back way further. But this, or any RWS, Pamela Coleman Smith version of the RWS, is really a meat and potatoes deck for all of us. And I'd love to see if you choose this as your meat and potatoes deck, which version you feel is the base of, goodbye Mythical, is the basis of your readings of RWS decks. So we're getting there. That was meat and potatoes. Now the next thing that I have here, and I have to go refer to my notes. Oh, the right wine. I mean, you know, you're going to have dinner, you're going to have the right wine, right? So what I decided to do was ask you to choose an oracle deck that you feel best complements your tarot deck readings. Any oracle deck that you feel is a good combination with a tarot deck. And I know a lot of people do that. They do a tarot reading and then they pull an oracle card to clarify things or sum things up or whatever. And the deck that I chose is the Lan Sky Oracle. This is from the creator of the White Sage Tarot, which many of you may know in a tinned version. I think there's also a standard version. But I love her artwork, and she ties them into yoga practices. But for example, this card is called Contentment. How perfect is that? If I were a frog, I'd be contented looking at that. And this is, excuse me, Turning Inward. I love her art. It is so soothing, non-greed. Interesting keywords here on this deck, and beautiful art. So I consider this a nice soothing glass of wine to have with any meal, with any tarot meal. And this guy's called Non-Stealing. Raccoons, we have them in our yard, and I wouldn't call them non-stealing, but okay. Honor yourself. And purity. Just absolutely beautiful cards. I really recommend them. I am not a huge Oracle fan. I only have a handful of Oracle decks, but this is one of my favorites. I think it's really beautiful and peaceful. And if you're at all into yoga, which I'm not, you know, you get keywords, and I guess those are yoga poses, or anyway, I don't know. I'll have to reread her little description of them, but I love it. It's a beautiful oracle deck and the perfect glass of wine to have with your meal. And finally, a fancy dessert. I mean, what would a meal be without a fancy dessert? My goodness. And I chose the Mythical Creatures Tarot from Baba Studios. To get it so the light doesn't shine too much. Just because it's like, it reminds you of the perfect elaborate wedding cake kind of dessert, very fancy dessert. It's a beautiful deck. Beautiful colors and borders. Very fancy dessert type deck to me. I'm in it for the imagery on this one, for the beauty of the deck. I mean, what more beautiful Three of Swords could you find? It doesn't even scare me when I first look at it, like some Three of Swords do. And there's an Eight of Swords that, again, is not particularly scary, it's pretty. So in my fancy dessert, I want pretty. Queen of Coins, Ace of Coins. So that's my dessert deck. And I will put these 7 prompts down below, and I would love it if you respond to it and give me your take on On these decks, the decks that match these categories: favorite appetizer, French bistro, spicy dish, Little Italy, meat and potatoes, the right wine, and a fancy dessert. So, thank you for Candy, Soul, and Soil for your original Dating the Tarot video, which kind of inspired this. And thank you all for watching, subscribing, commenting below, and you take care. Thank you.